All right, so you might have already seen that I started these pink shoes a couple of days ago, and I'm so obsessed with them. I can't imagine really wearing them all that much, but they're just so cool. They make me feel really happy. I do have a couple of weddings in mind that I might rock these to. Anyway, as you can see, I haven't put the heel on yet, but before I started the second one, a couple of you guys asked if I could film the process just to show you how I did it. This fabric that I've used frays a lot. I don't know if you can see that very well, but it is definitely one of the trickier ones to work with. I actually didn't interface this fabric, which I usually do, but it's actually a bit thicker than it looks, so I decided it didn't really need it. I do have a leather lining, and then obviously I've also put my stiffeners in the front and in the back there. Yeah, so I'm going to last this one with you guys and we'll see how it goes. I actually added a little bit of extra lasting allowance to the bottom when I did this one, because after I cut out the first one I realized straight away it was fraying so much, so I thought I'm going to give a bit of extra lasting allowance just in case. So you can see I've added that there. And that came in really handy when I did this shoe, but I had already cut out the other one without the extra lasting allowance, and I didn't have enough fabric to cut it again. So this might be a little tricky, but we'll do it together and hope for the best. All right, so I'm gonna use the strong glue. I always use the stronger stuff when I work with fabrics, just because it dries way faster and I feel like you can work with the material a lot quicker, so that's why I use it. But I do have my window open because, as you know, it really stinks. Okay, so just before I start gluing, as you can see, I've already lasted my lining and I've put my stiffeners in. So first thing I'm going to do is just get a bit of glue on the sides here in between the two stiffeners, and same thing on that side. And then I also just like to put a little bit over the top here just so that that goes down nicely, and then we'll work on the bottom afterwards. Something else to mention when you're working with fabrics is to make sure when you glue the actual fabric part that you only use the tiniest amount of this glue, because what you don't want is for it to soak through and then you can actually see it on the finished shoe. So I kind of just put little webs of glue on the fabric. Now I didn't actually use too much, which is good because it means that I can stick it pretty much straight away. I can see it's really tight on the inside here and it's already puckering, so I'm going to have to be very delicate with how I pull that. So I'm going to start at the toe, and rather than just pulling it straight down like that, where I might get a wrinkle, I hope you can see that, what I'm actually going to do is pull it sort of up and over, so I'm making sure I don't get any wrinkles in there. That has worked beautifully. If it doesn't work beautifully first go, just pull it up and do it again. Okay, super happy with that. This is going to be the difficult side, so I'm going to do it last. Save the best for last. Okay, even just like that tiny up and over action makes a big difference there. Okay. I'm trying not to pull it too much because I don't want it to fray. All right, now this is the difficult bit. I'm just gonna grab my scissors. Now, if you can see this, there's a pull going across that way, and that's really tight, and it's gonna make it difficult for me to pull it down like this without getting wrinkles in this area. So I've got my scissors on hand, and I'm going to start by sticking the bits that will go down easily. But usually what I do is I cut a couple of snips in here just to sort of take all the pressure off that line there. Now, it's really important that I don't cut my snips any further than this bottom edge, which is called the feather edge. So if I get any little snips, they can't go over that edge because otherwise we will see it. So I'm gonna go little bit by little bit. And again, you've got to be so careful of this fabric fraying. Okay, that's relaxed it a little bit. Let's see if it's enough. It's enough at the front, but I'd say it's probably not enough at the back. But since it is enough at the front, I'm going to go ahead and get that part there stuck down while I can. And then I'm actually going to get a little bit more glue under here. And I'm going to take those little snips all the way up to the back just to try and relax it a little bit. It's just so important that you don't get it over that edge. I'll give that a little bit more time to dry. Okay, so that's had a bit more time to dry, and my snips have relaxed it enough that I can get it sort of flat there. Now the main thing is we just want to get it flat to this feather edge because we haven't actually stuck the bottom down yet. So once you're happy with how that is sitting, you want to kind of lift this area up, and I think we will have enough lasting allowance here. I might have been being a bit dramatic before. Okay, so we've got enough lasting allowance, but it is fraying so much that I don't want to get too confident with it. So I'm going to start by taking the glue and putting it all on the feather edge of the shoe, so the bottom of the shoe. Now this is my trick, and someone actually told me on Instagram yesterday to use something called fray stop, I think. So if you're using that, you probably don't need to do this. But what I do is I look at the direction that the fabric is going and sort of the direction that it's fraying, and I glue in that direction. That's super important. If you glue in the opposite direction of the way it's fraying, then you're going to make a really big mess. So even when I get to this bottom area, I'm still doing that kind of up and over action, just on a really small scale. Okay, so that side section's gone down really nicely. The toe, I usually just kind of pull it forward like this. I am getting a puckering here at the front, and the front is the main event, so I'm not gonna let that fly. All right, so I'm gonna just take a little bit more glue. I really want to get most of the glue off the brush for this, and I'm just gonna lightly brush it over there. And to be honest, I'm only gonna put it on the stiffener. I'm not even gonna bother putting it on the fabric because I'm gonna stick it down while it's still wet. These look so good. Okay. Oh, this is also a good opportunity for me to show you how I last a pointy toe. You kind of need to get all your pleats right on that point. So I always do a pointy toe looking at it this way, so from a bird's eye view. And then obviously I'll turn it over and check how it's looking, but the main thing I want to make sure is that I can't see any pleats from that angle. Okay, the toe of that's looking really beautiful now. Totally messy underneath, but that's fine for the time being. Okay, now I'm back to this difficult section here, and you can see all the pulls that I have in there because it's really tight. So at this point, because I'm folding it underneath, I can get away with getting those snips even closer to the feather edge. So you kind of just want to creep them up bit by bit. And this will really help to reduce some of those wrinkles. But you have to just do it tiny bit by tiny bit because it's not worth cutting it too far and actually seeing it on the finished shoe. But that has made a massive difference. So you can see here, it's really nice and smooth now in that area, but there are still a few wrinkles just here in this area. So I'm going to get a couple of little snips in there as well. Much better. Nice and smooth there. Okay, and now we just need to do the back section. So I always pull it up because it's usually stuck down a little bit on its own. And then I always pull the back down first. So I do the seam first, and then I pull my little pleats around on either side, making sure that you can't see any pleats from that top edge there. Okay, and then you give it one last check. Beautiful. Okay, all we have to do next is trim all the pleats from the bottom, and then we can go ahead and get our soles on.